Welcome to Warpaint Figures. We're going to have a look at the Grenzer Games 15mm Imperial Romans in resin. So sit back, hope you enjoy and stick around to the end because we've got some feedback from Grenzer Games on some of the points we raised. Hi, welcome to Warpaint Figures. Today we're going to have a look why I've got such a small package in my hands from Grenzer Games. So we're going to have a look what they sent us and see if it's any good. So here we are at the craft table, rather dirty craft table that needs a bit of a clean, yeah, admit that. And this is how the Grenzer figures arrived. In terms of shipping, know what resin figures are like. I'm not keen on that. It is early days. And I know some guys have had problems with these. I have to say I've had no problems whatever. The packages arrived beautifully. Now let's zoom in and see what we have here. You will see lots of other bits. Now that's all the supports that you need when you're printing with a 3D printer in resin. So let's split these out and show you what we have. Because we have a command group, so let's get those together, and you can see it is beautifully detailed. So let's have a look at this command pack first of all. So we have one Centurion, and I'm going to pull him in as fine as I can. Beautiful detail. Now, whoops. People don't like a lot of these stands, but they are necessary. Now, a lot of them, if you're careful, you can pull away with your fingers. It's better to use, speaking to Kim, a pair of sharp snips, not even a knife to do this. What you won't have on here is flash, and you won't have mould lines. So there are advantages to having resin miniatures. Now, this one itself, pretty sturdy. And the crest across the top is pretty sturdy as well, so I think that will take handling. We also have an Optio. There we go. Whoops, let's get him in shot for you. Again, beautifully detailed, and you could take those out with a knife as well under there, and there's one there. Again, I won't pull too hard. Okay, and these come with their own separate scutum shields. You then have Cornison, there you go, with his horn, Harold the Horny Hunter. And again, that is beautifully detailed. You'll see more when we paint them up, and if you go on the website on the actual pictures, the STL files and that, and the pictures where they've been sort of shaded in with ink. We also have a Vexillarius and a Signifier. And again, lovely detail on these, as you will see. So, in terms of the quality of the sculpting, etc., they look beautiful. We're going to have to see how they paint up. So next up we have the Legionaries. Now these come 8 in a pack with 4 different poses. So you have Legionary with a Gladius advancing with the scutum shield there separate. I quite like that because if you want you can paint it and add the transfers before you add the shield, which is quite good. Obviously if you added it on it would possibly be a simpler print and a bit more durable, but a lot of metal figures and plastic come like that anyway. We have a Legionary with a Pilum lofting it in the air there. Again, lovely figure, beautifully proportioned as well. We have a Legionary with Pilum marching, and if I can bring it close enough, if it will focus, you can see the detail there on the clothing and the armour accoutrements. And finally we have Legionary with a Gladius advancing. Sorry, that's the same as that one. There you go. But the final one, alright, just two different ones of Gladius. Gladius pinned, I think that is. Yeah, so you get those 4 poses, 2 of each in a pack. Now, that may not suit some people. Possibly in the future, and we will be speaking to Kim about this. He may be doing separate packs, I don't know. It's not an exact process when you're starting out with 3D printing. But they are, in terms of proportion of all of these, they are realistic proportions. So they're not your big heroic 28, wrong scale, oversized 15mm that you sometimes get. Forged in battle, edge on that sometimes, just so they can get enough detail in, because the sculpting isn't as fine as you can get with a resin print. And finally, we have a legate whose name they named him, and he is Quintus Drusus. And again, beautiful detailing. Let's see that crest. Can we get off? And these do pull off fairly okay. I've got some 10mm fantasy 3D printed stuff which I will be reviewing, and I had a quick pull at some of those. And if you're careful, possibly with a pair of tweezers, and I shall investigate this for a future video, you can pull those off lovely and just scrape with a little bit with a knife. So in terms of the quality of detail and casting, I can't fault these. They're lovely, I have to say. The final verdict on that will be how they painted up, which will be a future video. Okay, so you've seen the miniatures, they look pretty good. So let's go into a little bit more detail, shall we? So the quality is fabulous. It's as you'd expect from 3D printing. To my mind, it's much better in detail and crispness than closest rival, I suppose you'd say, is a PSC, which is a plastic resin mix. The details look good and they should paint up well. You can see, I'll put up now here, this is off the Grenzer Games website. It's a picture of a painted cohort. Now obviously I'm going to do a painting vid for you of these in my own inimitable style, whether you like it or not. Okay, they're also a very realistic scale. They're a lot more proper dimensions of a human being. They're not as chunky as a lot of metal and other 15mm. So you take your Forged in Battle, your Essex, they're a little bit chunky. Essex not quite so much, surprisingly. It's a bit like when Perry brought out their plastic Lord of the Rings compared to Games Workshop. They look really weedy because they were proper dimensions. Okay, number 2 is durability. This is my biggest concern. I have worries on the packaging. They just arrived in a little jiffy envelope in a little bubble wrap bag. Yeah, and I know from looking around, a couple of people had a couple of breakages. It's not common. So talking to Kim once he's sent out, it's quite rare, but it's something I have raised with him. The Signifier and Vexillarius, that's it. Look quite delicate on those long poles. It may be better, I suggest to him, with an open hand with a wire, with a head you can put on for the Vexillarius. And for the Signifier, Games Workshop used to have this thing where you had the standard and had a groove, you'd put the pole along the back. That may work a lot better. The other poses look okay, you know, the weapons are quite close to the body. And even the guy throwing the pedum looks fine. It could break off, but to be honest, I've had breakages on the PSC stuff. So that's really my view. But there's room for improvement, I think. Number 3, other issues. Right, at the time that I originally looked at these, the Auxilio were only available in STL files. They are now available in miniatures, so that expands the range you can have for your army. The other issue is the time. Now they do put 28 days to fulfill your order. 28 days is a long time in wargaming. So it's a little concern for them as a business. They are a small company, so I understand the economies of scale. And printing is an involved process and it does take time. Is it worth the wait? Well, quite possibly yes, it depends on your own point of view. There's a lot of companies now don't carry the huge stocks of miniatures. They're cast to order. The other issue for me is the mixed poses in the single legionary pack. There are 8 figures and 4 different poses. For me, I wouldn't like that. I would like the option to buy, say, 4 and 4 and mix and match. Obviously, you could order the cohort pack, where there is more of each pose, plus your command involved in there as well. But it is a point, may put some people off, I don't know. Costs. Now this is the important one, and I will refer to my notes on this. I would have expected resin figures to be really quite expensive. When I see them around, I know 10mm resin miniatures are quite a bit more expensive, but worth it because of the detail. But when you look at it, the Grenzer Games 15mm Imperial Romans are really good value, I think. You get an 8 figure legionary pack, and that is £4.50. So that's about 56.25p if I really want to be exact. Call it 57p a figure. And that works out the same for a command pack. Now originally they do a cohort pack with 32 figures. Now I've had a deal. He's now reduced the price of that to £16.50. That's about 51, just under 51p a figure. When you look at it, forged in metal, they work out at 50p for a metal figure, and that, I know metal has gone up in price, but that should be a bit cheaper than resin. PSC for a 32 figure pack of infantry, they work out at 37.5p a figure, so it's only 13p difference or so on a large pack. Now for the increase in detail you get, that could be well worth it depending on your point of view as a wargamer. Plus, I think it's a big plus for their business model. You can just buy the STL 3D printed files. There's a little help guide on the site showing you how to scale. So you could do these in 28mm if you've got your own 3D printer, and obviously the world's your ostrich then, because you churn them out at whatever rate you want to churn them out then. And obviously Kim's just at the end of the line for a bit of advice if you wanted to. So I did say hang around and would give you some important updates on these miniatures from Grenzer Games. I spoke to Kim, I raised a lot of the questions that I've raised on this video. The first one, packaging. Kim has now changed the packaging, and all large parcels of miniatures will be shipped out in boxes, plus they've added additional protection to the Jiffy bag parcels. Now we were talking about the signifier, and now Kim is really seriously looking and is going to be changing the way he does things. So all spears and pole arms, not pilum because those are generally close to the body, are going to be wire cut to length. They're going to cast them with the open hands, and they're also working towards the system I suggested to them for the Vexillaris and Signifier, which to improve the robustness, which is separate heads, and possibly they're on a Vexillarius. There you go, I'll get it eventually. Is to put the pole out of the groove and have the head separate for the flag. And they're looking to do it on all pole arms, so you can have possibly a selection of pole arm heads, whether that be halberd or pike or whatever, and so you can choose how to equip your army, because they are looking to expand their ranges. So that's brilliant. Well done Kim, well done Grenzer. What's the future hold for Grenzer Games? Well, I hope they're very successful with these miniatures because they're lovely. They're looking to expand the range and add barbarians. Haven't specified whether those are like Germans, Dacians, Gauls or whoever, but they're bound to be hairy and sweaty. Most barbarians are. So look out on Kickstarter, that's where they're going with that, and it's going to be a bigger one apparently. So if we see that, we'll try and fill you in on the details. So keep an eye on our blog on our website, warpaintfigures.com as well. Kim, if you're watching this, feel free to come and post on here when this Kickstarter is and a link to it. And they're looking to spread into new areas. One of Kim's passions is samurais and also naval games of multiple periods, so your ancients and Napoleonics, World War I, World War II. So that's something exciting to look forward to. So it's good to see local companies, and I hope they're very successful. So what's the overall conclusion on the Grenzer Games 15mm Imperial Romans? Early Imperial, I think. It's not so much my period. I'm a Republican Roman fan myself, proper Romans. I think they're a great addition to the hobby market. 15mm has been a bit ignored. It went down. It's sort of coming back now with some of the rules. You know, your Mortimer Glorians, your spear and sword, sword and spear. Sword and spear, that's it. We're Playdown Club. I should know this. So it's good to see that coming through. Obviously, you have Plastic Soldier Company composite miniatures, and you'll see the review. Hopefully that side, or it could be that side, because I get my left and rights wrong when I'm on the camera. So I hope you like that little short look at the new Grenzer Games 50mm Resin Imperial Romans. We will continue to do some unboxing. I've got some 10mm fantasy figures I want to have a look at and show you. But we're going to go back to the painting tutorials and the terrain tutorials. So we've got something to get stuck into. So if you like this, if you can subscribe, that would be great, and ring my bell, because that way you hear about all the videos. If you want to support us, we're on Facebook. We've got a Facebook page, Warpaint Figures, Instagram Warpaint Figures, and guess what? Twitter Warpaint Figures. So that's me signing off for now. Any links I mentioned here are going to be down below in the video, and put your comments in. I'll answer them all, or hit me up with a message. Alright, cheers.